So now, what would you say? I think here is a question when people, let's say they very first time, they kind of encounter this term of grace over grind, right?
Right.
They gonna pop this question of say, now, what does it mean? Because, some people can interpret it as, oh, so I just flow with God's grace. I just kind of sit there and wait, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So, and it's like, I, and come to a point that I feel sometimes become a cautious that they don't take action by faith,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So can you
Absolutely.
elaborate on this?
Oh, absolutely. So the person who would think that clearly didn't read the book. I'm going to be clear about that because the book is about working by the power of God's grace. And so it is absolutely about the grace is that divine enablement to be all God's called you to be and to do all that God's called you to do and experience more than you could ever experience on your own. So there are some people who maybe based off of the title will think that maybe make an assumption that this is about like sitting around and waiting on God. It's not that at all. It really is working by the power of God's grace. And it's all about looking at what are the gifts of that grace that we're able to walk and work in with God and dismantling all the burdens that come with the grind because there's lots of them, right? And so if we're going to be kingdom people, if we want to move and we want to be, revealers of the goodness and the glory of God, and we want to do things with him, then the only way to do it with him is by the power of his grace. We can't do it in our own strength, trying to make all the things happen. And then at the end of the day, say to God be the glory when everything points to, do you be the glory,
Yeah. So Shae, can you give us maybe an example of
Yeah.
kind of between flow with grace or grinding for result?
Yeah, absolutely. And so Merriam-Webster dictionary, the word grind's been used enough that it actually has a definition. It is excessive hard work. So the grind means excessive hard work. And if you want to think of it in biblical terms, I define it as also doing things primarily in your own strength. Okay, based off of your own, only off of your own abilities, of your own wisdom, and all of those things. But when we're talking about doing business in the power of God's grace, we're talking about, I'm going to tell you because I'm going to pull this up from the book because I talk about these 6 benefits. We're talking about transcendent peace. So what does that look like to actually do business with the presence of God? What does that practically look like? Abundant rest. How do we not work for rest, but how do we work from the rest of God? What does that look like practically? There's sustainable rhythms. How do you find that right tempo of working like in the timing of God? For some, this goes back to something that you mentioned earlier. It's like, there's some people that it's like they need to be sped up a bit. And then there's other people that they need to be pulled back a bit. So the sustainable rhythms is all about kind of discerning what are those rhythms, what's the rhythm for the season, how to operate and function in that, regardless of which side of the equation that you're on, right? And so that's about sustainable rhythms. And remember, it's sustainable rhythms.
Keyword sustainable.
Keyword is sustainable rhythms. Exactly. Faithful collaboration, divine favor. I mean, listen, as a child of God, like you are favored. And a lot of times we focus on trying to earn favor, from others, or whether it's earning favor from God, which is already given to you, or earning favor from man. When really, if we focused in on doing things with God, in his presence, with his wisdom, with his insight, then we are aligning ourselves with his favor, which is way more than what we could try to make happen ourselves, whether that's relationally or trying to go after a particular deal or, whatever. But how do we do that and move in the wisdom of God? And a lot of times I know, at least for me the reason why this book even came about was because I had to be transformed from doing things primarily in my own strength and I didn't even really realize that God even cared about talking to me about my business. It's not like I was avoiding, I just didn't even know it was a thing. And then for other people, they know that it's a thing, but they don't, but it's like, well, I engage God in these other areas, but I've got it all together in business and I've got to make this thing happen on my own. So regardless of what's, where someone's coming from, I mean, this is to me, like, this is all about like, how do we practically walk this thing out with God? And it has been the testimony of my last, probably 13 years now. And it'll be the testimony of the rest of my life. And it's just something that's been really wonderful to be able to walk out in front of people and mentor other people in. Because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know,
Yeah, exactly. So, let me ask the next question.
Yes.
Again, it's on behalf of audience, because I know that sometimes they will say, But Kelly, what exactly the difference between, let's say, okay, in this season, I know God want me to do this thing. Let's say that call it A, right?
Yes.
And then, oh, I will like just, really passionate and pursue after it, and I'm doing it. And yes, naturally, I'm working extra hours and all that. What's that difference between that and, let's say, the other end is, well, I'm just don't get a result, and I'm just working hard, hustle hard, and I couldn't get a result, and I'm working extra hours too. So
Yeah.
what's the difference? How can we tell I am the A or I'm the B?
Yeah. So one of the things I talk about really early in the book, I think it's the chapter on transcendent peace, is the idea of doing business meetings with God, like actually engaging God as it relates to the practicals of your business. Because the thing is, I mean, there's some weeks that I have to work more hours than others. Some weeks I do. But even in the times that that's the case, I'm doing it based off of operating from the strategy that came from me hanging out with God about my business, not me assuming that, okay, these are all the things that I need to do. And so I'm going to put my list together, and these are all the things. And I think I need to go this. I'm going to go buy this blueprint from this person. And I'm going to go put these 700 steps, and I'm going to go make it happen. And I'm going to be on team no sleep. No. That's how I used to be. It was like, oh, it wasn't always about hours. By the way, it's not just about hours. Like, you can grind in 10 hours a week. So this isn't just an hours conversation. It's how do you work? Not just how many hours do you work. And so the big difference from like what you were laying out there is, in one example, there was probably not any engagement with God to get his mind and his heart concerning what it is that you're doing, maybe operating out of a lot of assumptions of, of what it should be or what it could look like, and then running hard after it. Versus the other idea, which is actually to sit with God, to engage God concerning business, to get his insight towards something so that you can get, because here's the thing, once you get alignment with his mind and his heart concerning your business, it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities in your partnership with him. You're able to dream with him, and you're dreaming with him, not dreaming outside of him. And then, going after something that may not have anything to do with the areas that he's called you to, right? So this is about alignment, and we can't get alignment without spending time with God. And we also can't cultivate greater awareness of our own identity, so that we're working from identity and not like trying to work to prove and all of that. That comes in that intimacy with God as well. So there's all of the goodness that comes when we find ourselves working in him. That scripture, Kelly, that the scripture that like set this whole thing off for me is Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Now, this scripture, commonly known, where Jesus is saying, come to me, all of those who are weary and heavy laden. He says, I'll give you rest. And he talks about how his yoke is easy and his burden is light. I don't have the whole thing memorized. But what I do have memorized was hearing it in the message. And it is, are you tired, worn out, burnt out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you will learn to live freely and lightly. And so when you think about that, all the wits, walk with me, work with me, keep company with me. I've got unforced rhythms of grace. I mean, that was the invitation that I'm like, I need to know about that. And it changed everything. It really did.
Yeah, and that keyword is with. I think
yes.
Often the spirit of religion is like, okay, I need to work for
yes,
for God.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
I oftentimes it causes actually we for people because we want to be accepted by people.
Yeah.
And if you like this video and this episode, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share with others so more Christ-centered leaders have the opportunity to consume this type of valuable content. Before I go, I just want to remind you that you can click on the screen, go to the next business growth videos, and I will see you in the next episode.